Hello, welcome to the rundown of the patch 10.6, where things like Veigar actually gets buffed. So, let's talk about it, let's see what happens, what can we predict, and what's gonna be the meta, right? Does anything change? Let's find out. So, before we dive into it, let's just look at the champions being buffed and being nerfed. There's a lot of champions actually being buffed, and this is super good, because what ends up happening is if you're just gonna nerf every champion in the game, then the same broken champs will just come back all the time. So, all the champs being buffed, I think, is justified, except for maybe Rice, but we will see what that turns out to be. Buffing Veigar, TF, and Hecarim, I think is really good. Kindred, I think, is fine in certain spots right now. For nerfs, they nerf Aphelios and Senna, those are the really big ones. They nerf Shaco for some reason, no clue why, and Wukong gets adjusted. Garen Darius probably gets nerfed because they're stomping low elo. Shaco nerfs makes no sense. So let's see. Anivia gets buffed. She isn't actually mentioned here for some reason, but she does get buffed. So that's cool. That's good. I like Anivia. So the ice duration goes from 2 to 3. This is actually pretty big because the issue a lot of time with Anivia is like your Q, right, applies it properly, like 3 seconds. But then your R only does 2 seconds. So there is a lot of times where you R somebody, then they run out, and then you want to flash after them, and then you E, and then it doesn't crit because it's run out. This fixes this, and it's pretty big. Is this gonna make her broken? No. Anivia is very niche, and she fits in certain team comps. She sucks cock in solo queue, because players just simply aren't patient enough and they don't play around her kit. But her kit is quite strong. But yeah, she needs teammates. So you would pick this champion against very short range compositions that has to go into you, because Anivia completely denies that. So Cassiopeia and Rice is pretty good against. Lane can be a little bit rough versus Cassio, but yeah, once you fix your mana issues as Anivia, it's a pretty good pick into those two. She can also be quite good into like Kiana and all these champs that has to go in. So if you're playing versus a very short range comp, Anivia is something to look into picking. So I like the buffs, but I think that they should really go with the buff where her R does not get cancelled, because I don't think it would be that broken. I think that Anivia is already good in low elo because people can't close games and they just ARAM. So Anivia is already good there, and then high elo she will still be bad, I think, even with that change, because people just split push against her. And then she can't deal with it. So, yeah. Let's see. Aphelios. Aphelios has been really strong right now, so nerfing him makes sense. 8 to 25% to now 3 to 20. That's really big numbers. Remember, this is percentage, right? So it's not like just a flat number thing. So this is gonna be really big. And that's nice, because Aphelios gets a lot of things for free in his kit. He gets range, just randomly. He gets healing just randomly. He randomly gets a slow and randomly gets a wave clear. So nerfing all of the things that he gets randomly, kind of like Zoe, is nice. So the water gun that I like to call it, aka the flamethrower, for 45 to 30%. Again, percentage, pretty big. This probably means he needs a couple more auto attacks to actually clear out the wave. That's gonna make him invest more time, making him more vulnerable to ganks, making him lose tempo, slower on rotations, gonna take turrets slower because the wave will crash slower. All of this adds up. Pretty big nerf. Yeah, this one as well. Not as big as the other ones, I believe, but yeah. Everything of this being nerfed is gonna hit Aphelios extremely hard, with 80 carries such as Ezreal and MF still being really good in the meta, and Kalista coming back up. Aphelios and Senna is gonna go far down now because they're gonna get nerfed, and MF and Ezreal is left untouched. So we're just gonna see MF, Ezreal go far up, and then Kalista will be like potential answers to things like Ezreal. And then we might see things like Kai'Sa come because of the buffs that she got before, and with Ezreal being really strong. But Ezreal also requires the player piloting him to be very good. Darius W, bonus damage, used to do 50, does 10. So reduced by 10 every rank, it looks like. Yeah, 10% every rank. Total attack damage. Yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks a little bit for Darius, but I feel like this champion, you would only pick this champ. Like, you have two people picking him. You have the one tricks, which are gonna play him regardless. Of course, these nerfs really, really suck for them then, because you need this extra damage and all of these things to actually win hard matchups. But the actual humans that pick Darius would only pick him in matchups where he actually stomps, and in the matchups where he stomps, I feel like you should still be stomping. Mana cost goes up by 10. You kind of use this spell a lot, and sometimes when farming, I don't know if you get mana back when you use it for CS. I've never played this champ, never read about him, so I don't know. But if you don't get mana back, then when you use these for last hit sometimes, then yeah, that's gonna hurt you a little bit. But in trades, you usually, like, you either start with E or you start with W, and then you use it like once or twice in a fight. The E though. Yeah, the E mana cost, I believe you max this a bit late into the game. Like, you max Q first, and then I don't know what you max after that, but I mean, after like level 9, the mana costs don't really matter on Darius, because it's not a champion like Ziggs that just spams spells off cooldown. So that's not gonna matter much. But the W thing for sure will matter, especially in the harder matchups. Remember though that percentage total attack damage isn't that relevant on a champ like Darius that only builds like 2 to 3 AD items. It's not like an AD carry who would lose even more of this. So his base damages are still there. But yeah, I don't think that Darius was particularly broken, so I just feel like this is just a low elo nerf. I feel like Darius is quite easy to play against. One of the bigger issues with him is just another ghost Nimbus Cloak abuser, which can be a bit frustrating to play against. But I feel like if you are in a matchup where Darius counters you, then, you know, I think it's your fault for picking that champion. Draven gets more W movement speed, 10% each rank. That's pretty nice for Draven. This will result in him being better at running people down, obviously. Keep in mind that he can reactivate his W every time he picks up access, so this is actually going to add up over time, giving him essentially free boots, kind of similar to what Misfortune does. He also maxes this spell second, so this is pretty good in that regard. So yeah, Poggers. I think that Draven right now is in a spot where only one tricks can play him. I think that they're like in pro play. I know that Attila played him and it wasn't even that impressive. So I think in Europe at least we don't have good Dravens in competitive, except for maybe Patrick. Yeah, I know Caps played a bit of Draven, but I haven't seen it, so I'm not gonna comment. Yeah, it's good for Draven, but I mean, you know, if you blind pick Draven, enemy picks MF and Ashen, what are you gonna do? Garen getting nerfed because of low elo again, I guess, which is a bit sad because like Garen used to be just a troll champ and now he's like fine and decent. So nerfing him is a bit sad. Magic resist growth. Okay, so he's gonna get even more hurt when he's getting kited by things like Vladimir and Rice. That really sucks for him. Critical strike ratio. That's gonna hurt like the Phantom Dancer Triforce build. So that sucks also for him. People are still gonna pick Garen though, because mainly people play him that are one tricks. I know a certain top laner called Whippo used to play this champion a lot in all seasons, so he might be a bit sad seeing this. Hecarim Arfare duration is increased. 0.75 to 1.5. So it's still the same in short range and more in long range. Okay. Well, that's gonna help him a lot in his flanks, or where he's just flying through the, like, just flying straight at you kind of thing. Which is fine. I think damage-wise, Hecarim does fine. So giving him more utility is good. And right now we have Lee Sin and we have Rek'Sai as like the AD junglers and Olaf. So like when we go to second ban phase in competitive, usually those aren't all open. So then you start seeing more niche AD junglers. So with things like Hecarim coming through, we might see things like Hecarim jungle and then like a Lulu mid lane, like versus like a LeBlanc, like Lulu mid and like a Hecarim jungle or something like this. And same thing with like Kindred. I don't think Hecarim is that bad because you can do a lot of things on him. You can do like Cinderhulk, you can go Warrior, you can go Blue Smite, you can go Red Smite, you can go Triforce, you can go Sterak's, you can go full tank. There's so much you can do. And yeah, buffing other junglers is nice because, to be honest, the meta right now in jungle is pretty boring. Kayn, more orb speed later on in the game. I think that's a bit cringe because I think if you are at this fucking point as Kayn and you're struggling, I think you have fucked up your job as Kayn. But yeah, Kayn isn't the best right now, so buffing him makes sense. But I feel like this should be the counterplay of him. You should struggle to get back. Kindred? Can you starving for some buffs? Disagree. I think with Sejuani, Karthus, Olaf and stuff being so popular right now, I think Kindred is pickable in certain drafts. More attack damage growth. Okay, so far this doesn't solve her issues. Health restore 32 to 100. Now it's 49 to 100. Still doesn't solve her issues. Okay, this gives her some more utility, which is nice. And remember, this heals everybody inside of it, so it's gonna end up at like being beneficial to multiple people. So even though it seems like only 50, right, it adds up. So that's nice. It's nice Kindred buffs, and I don't mind the buffs being so like small, kind of, because they're not massive. They're not that small either. They're like whatever. I don't feel like she's that bad, so I think it's fine. People will see this and they'll be like, oh yeah, Kindred exists. Maybe we'll see her played. Maybe we won't. But I think Kindred is okay right now. But she really needs laners that can play the game so that she can invade and get stacks. And then she needs a jungle matchup she can abuse. Or at least scale in. And then she's okay. She's kind of like the... she's a bit similar to Olaf. Just Olaf is more forgiving. Morgana, more movement speed. This is really huge for a champion like Morgana that can never dash unless she's flashing. So she's constantly moving and she's a support. So giving her this is really, really big. And 20 more on shield level 1 and then, you know, eventually scaling back to what it normally is. That's really, really good because right now what can happen to Morgana level 1 is like, I'm pretty sure there's certain abilities that is exactly 60 damage, like Leona E or something. So you can actually lose your back shield and then still get stunned. This can prevent this, so that's really nice. This actually fixes some of Morgana's issues, but she still has the issues that, yeah, she can black shield, and then after that, then what? She doesn't really do that much. The general AD carries that are really good with Morgana as well, like Caitlyn, aren't really popular in the meta as well, so that hurts her. However, Morgana mid lane, like mentioned here, is in a quite fine state right now, where you can pick it into the likes like LeBlanc, and Morgana will do just fine. And she's a flex. But I would still value things like Nautilus and stuff like that, Rakan, over Morgana. Just because of all the things they can do, right? Like they can peel, they can heal, they can shield, they can give like all of these things and engage. Morgana can only really engage with flash or look for picks. So until Caitlyn and stuff becomes meta, I don't see us or anyone playing Morgana unless it's a really obvious situation, right? Where Morgana is really good. Rise. So this one I'm excited about. I want to see. It looks like it's not too big. Because I think Rise is like in a state right now where he's pickable, but then he's also really horrible in certain cases. Mana regen growth. That's pretty good for a champion like Rise, but still is not anything massive. W level 1, it's the same. That sucks a bit, because there are times where you want to skill W level 1 as Rise and actually hard bully with it level 1. So if he got like 20 more damage on it right level 1, that would be huge. But he doesn't, so it's level 2, and that doesn't mean anything. Because you are not maxing this ability. You're maxing E and you're maxing Q. And then you're maxing W. So it's a bit irrelevant. But hey, buffs like this for champs that aren't horrible is nice to see. Senna, this is going to be one of the bigger ones, because this is a champion that right now is being picked a lot. So attack damage per soul goes from 1 to now 0.75. This is going to change a lot of people's math sheets. I know that this is probably the champion, at least one of the champs with the most math sheets in the game, where people have like Google Docs calculating all like the soul's worth and stuff to see when you should farm, when you shouldn't. So now those people have to go do calculations again, so have fun. This is of course gonna mean that, you know, the more souls you have, right, this is gonna add up, because of course 1 soul doesn't sound like anything, right? You're only missing 0.25. But if you think, okay, you have 100 souls in the game, there you go, you are certain you're now missing a lot of AD. Soul cooldown 4 seconds to 654. Yep, this is pretty big. And this is gonna make the quote-unquote the fasting Senna strategy, as it's called, where the Senna doesn't farm and she just pokes people, less viable, because her souls are less worth. And as I think that this means that she gets them not as often, like from hitting people. So yeah. There goes Senna support and fasting Senna. At least it should have a lot less priority now. Shaco nerfs, fucking stupid. I don't know why they're nerfing Shaco. This, look, they say it's a bit too strong, even though AP Shaco is a lot stronger than AD, so I don't know why they're nerfing AD. And then they say it's soft nerf, which it really is not. Because like what I talked about with Darius, right? Shaco actually goes full AD. This champion is going to sit on 300, 480. Right? Of course, in earlier stages, like 200. So this matters a lot more on this champion. This is a champion that requires this extra damage here. This damage here to actually one-shot. He needs to one-shot, or he is not doing anything as a champion. Your ulti isn't going to just do 1 auto-attack. If you're using Halo Blades, it's going to do like 3+ auto-attacks. This will add up, and this is massive nerf for Shaco, and it's super stupid because this champion isn't good. Soraka, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Same AP scaling, but now it has 10 more damage. 10 more heal. Okay, well, you spam this spell, so that's of course going to add up, so then that's really good. And then more movement speed, making her... Like this, like for example, imagine a scenario where you're playing Soraka, you walk up, you hit the enemy Leona with a Q, then you run away. You're gonna have easier time to run out her ulti or her E. So that's pretty nice. So, good job, good buff. And with Soraka being buffed and Morgana being buffed on the same patch, if you go ahead and you blind pick Morgana, I'm gonna lock in Soraka, and you're not gonna have fun. Or I'm gonna lock in Karma, cause fuck you. The biggest buff this patch, in my opinion. This is at least, yeah, biggest buff so far, I believe. I've seen a TF buff before. The other ones I haven't really looked at. Yeah, this is the biggest one so far. Maybe even the entire patch. So the issue with APTF, right, he could roam and stuff, and that's great. But he didn't scale. He did not scale that great. He scaled good in terms of utility, but in damage he lacked really much. Kind of similar like a Lissandra. Lissandra has started to get this issue fixed, and now TF is getting this issue fixed. So his blue card is actually now a nuke, which is, blue card has always meant to be this spell where you use it and it's meant to hurt because you lost the CC, right? You didn't pick gold card. Now it actually hurts. This is the 1 ability power. Like this is 100% ratio almost. It's 0.9. This is Veigar W is 1. Right? 100%. This is 90. This is super good. And red card 0.6, and that's AoE, so that's also really good. So now it makes sense when to pick what spell. So this, before, I used to go Rod of Ages, Lichbane, Sonias, and then Void Staff or Banshees or Rapid Fire Cannon. Now I might go a Rabadons, because now TF actually has AP scalings. So good job, Riot. Actual good buffs. And a fun champion, and fun champ to see in competitive. I like this. This is really, really good. And people should play TF. This champ is gonna be really strong with this. Q slow duration increase and E stun duration increased. Okay, this is really good because they are buffing the CC on the AD champion, where people usually go Ninja Tabis against or armor. So when people don't usually have tenacity against Urgot, this is going to mean more than as if you're buffing CC on champions people already go Mercs against, like Sejuani. So this is nice. Urgot is playable right now in certain matchups like Gangplank, so this gives a bit more reason to pick him. I do think though, however, if the enemy has Gangplank and you have Urgot, you still lost top lane because Cheap is just better champion, but Urgot can still win the lane. So it's good. Good buffs. This will also help him set up his combo. Veigar. Small buffs for the small boy. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Used to have 50.7 AD, now it's 52. This might seem very minor, but in certain matchups like Kiana, you're auto-attacking a lot, so this feels pretty nice. This also buffs his Lichbane build, because of Sheen. Attack damage growth is also, you know, just welcomed, why not? And then armor. Maybe you can live with 1 HP versus Zed. This is the biggest one. This is a spell you spam a lot. It's gonna help new Veigar players stack Q easier. It's gonna give a bit more reason to poke with Q in lane, which is nice. I don't think Veigar is in a horrible spot right now. I also don't think he's the best champ. So buffs like this make sense. And he's getting a new skin, so that's mainly why they're buffing him. Now this is like the biggest total change, I guess, this patch. Wukong. Magic resist goes down. Health goes down. Mana goes up. Mana growth goes up. Talking about this first. So losing MR and losing HP, right? This means that, okay, if he is playing mid lane, and or even top lane in that case, right? We don't know. I haven't read everything yet, so maybe it's a jungler, right? But let's say just laning. Things like Vladimir will prevent him from even snowballing, and then he will get outscaled, and he will get easier bullied. That sucks for him. And losing stats like this as melees definitely suck, because they really, really, really need these stats to survive lane. Let's see what happens. But this is why they do it. I guess, no, okay, they remove his magic resist. So only armor now, okay. So his passive was a joke before, it did nothing pretty much. This is a lot better for sure. That's a lot more valuable, but he loses the MR. So just with this, of course, he's gonna be really tanky in terms of armor, but he has no magic resist anymore. That alone is gonna mean things like Kennen and Vladimir are gonna be better versus him in top lane. Health regen, grants 0.5 maximum health regen per 5 seconds. Okay, it's gonna help him sustain. So far he has nice sustain here and here. Okay. Okay. Six, eight. Holy shit, this is gonna be a tanky guy. Alright, well, he has a passive now. There you go, Wukong mains. His passive was a real joke before. He actually has a passive now. And I mean, this makes sense. He's gonna spin around, right? He's gonna do all of this. At least I think he's still gonna spin around. I don't know if his ulti gets changed, but so far his passive is good. Good passive. Okay, no longer 10 damage level 1, poggers. So he has the same base damage later on, but just actual human base damage early, pog. And more AD scaling. Everything sounds good so far for Wukong. Sounds like a good champ so far. But what makes me nervous when it already starts off so good is the other spells. Maybe he gets ruined, I don't know. But so far he could potentially be broken. Just with this alone, if everything else is like good. Bonus range, 125 level 1. Now it has to scale. Okay, so that's a bit of a nerf for him. But later on it'll be a buff, of course. Okay, this is really fucking pog. I remember when I played Wukong, this was really annoying. Same with Garen, and they fixed it on Garen, now they fixed it on Wukong. And that's pretty nice. Whenever Wukong or his decoy deal damage with basic abilities. Okay, another just random buff in there. Cooldown. Okay, well, more cooldown. Well, of course, the spell is better now, so of course it's gonna have more cooldown. Doesn't matter that much, because you are building Black Cleaver, Yumu's, things like this on him. At least I think you're still gonna build him AD and not tank. W, 300 range dash, that can't go over walls. Okay, well, now you have a little dash at least. That's pog. Less stealth, that sucks a bit. Wukong's decoy no longer deals AoE magic damage. Okay. More cooldown. Oh, holy moly, a lot more cooldown. You might even not be able to, like, now you have to W, then go in, and then you probably don't have W to go out. So that sucks for Wukong. More mana, that doesn't really matter on a spell like this. Mimics his attacks and ultimate, but deals less damage. So like Shaco, pretty much. But just that Shaco can't do E and W with his clone. And Q, of course. Will attempt to attack. Oh, so you can't control it. Okay, so you can't control it by the looks of it. Like, it's like LeBlanc clone, pretty much. You can't control what it does, kind of. It just does what it wants. Like, of course, you can move the LeBlanc clone. But, yeah, it's just a decoy. But can you know? I guess you can't know, right, that it's the clone unless you do something fancy. All of this sounds interesting. So far, it sounds more of like a jungler, to be honest, than a laner. But let's see. AD ratio is the same. I mean, wait, what? Wait, never mind. I say AD ratio is the same, then he randomly has AP, what? E, more base damage, okay. And then just randomly has ability power ratio. What? What? Where does this AP ratio randomly come from? Everywhere else he has AD scaling, now he just randomly has AP ratio. Okay, weird champ. Okay. Bonus attack speed, 10% more. Duration lasts for more. Wukong might be a good champ, actually, Pog. More cooldown here, too. So, more cooldown on Q and more cooldown on E. More cooldown on everything so far. Yikers. Cost, pretty cheap. Okay. Now our final ability. Wukong can now cast his ultimate a second time within 8 seconds. The second cast can knock up enemies a second time. Okay. He sounds like a jungler to me. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Knock up duration. I mean, he doesn't have any damage to jungle camps, I guess. But his base damage is got higher. And you could jungle with him before anyways. So he used to be like meta jungler back in the day. Knock up duration is less though. Okay. Spin duration. Okay. 4 to 8 maximum health. Sia tanks. Same 80 damage. Interesting. Now cast older abilities to cancel his ultimate. Okay. Alright, so there's gonna be like instances where you would just keep spinning and reactivate your ulti for like second knock-up and things like that, and there's gonna be times where you would just use it for knock-up and then you're just gonna Q and spam your spells in one shot. Add some more skill expression, I guess. Interesting. So final conclusion on like Wukong, I think that he will be a lot more like all around, like more before only thing you could do on Wukong was one shot. Now I feel like since he loses the AD ratio, unless this is a typo, because it's a bit strange, but yes, considering he loses his AD ratio on his E, I guess that his one-shot potential versus squishies are gonna be less. But he's gonna be more like all around, which I feel like is gonna benefit pro players and stuff like that and competitive scene more. And it's gonna nerf him a bit for one-tricks, because they want the fun one-shot aspects, I believe. But with less stealth, less insta-burst, right? Because he loses this base damage too. But this maximum health, I don't know the maths, but I'm assuming that this is gonna do more to squishies than what this is, and this is gonna do more to tanks than what this is. So his one-shot potential is gonna be less. But he's gonna be doing more damage over time, I assume, and... But maybe not even. I don't know, it's strange. But he just sounds easier to, like, playing, like, competitive and in higher MMR. And the reason why I think that is, like, because I think his passive here sounds really fucking good. And he's gonna be able to stay alive for a lot longer. Meaning that he's gonna be able to abuse, like, this. Where is it? Like this more. Right? Like things like this, and then this doing max damage. He's gonna have a lot easier time to kill bruisers and things like that now. And if you're ahead on this, I'm sure you can still one-shot. And with your decoy doing things like, yeah, overall I think it's just gonna be more kind of bruiser kind of thing. Less one-shotty, more bruiser kind of champion. Which is gonna benefit more in competitive. So it's interesting. For sure worth to look to play. W center damage amplify increased. Okay. I mean, it's nothing huge. You can still play this champion versus like Cassiopeia, Lysandra. So it's okay, I guess. But, you know, there's a lot of times where you're not able to go in range to W in the middle. But when people get hit by your E and stuff, you can for sure one-shot with this. A bit more ability power ratio. It's like cleaned up a bit. And more base damage later on. Alright, Poggers. Well, Seraph is a very unique champion where you can play this champion from time to time, like I said, versus Cassio, versus Lysandra, versus these kind of things. He's kind of like Zoe in the sense that you kind of need some peel and frontline so you can perma walk up and poke people. If you do see that you have like peel and stuff and you do have like those matchups I was talking about, then yeah, you can pick Seraph. Issue is that right now there are champions like Ziggs in the meta that basically does what Seraph does but better, plus Ziggs is better at taking objectives. But hey, maybe Seraph can beat Ziggs in raw damage. Does look like it to me that he will beat in burst, so it's less troll to go Seraph over Ziggs now. It's okay buffs, bit underwhelming, he could get more love, but it's whatever. Alright, jungle champions. NA love this. So Brand gets more faster clear, even though he had pretty good clear. Morgana is now flexible to jungle as well as mid and support. Poggers, we might actually see that, no joke, I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like jungle is one of the roles where you can just pick bullshit in the jungle, and as long as it can clear and has some kind of purpose, it's fine to do it, as long as you give your teammates winning draft because of it. Example is Syndra, right? Syndra jungle is okay. It's not better than Karthus. It's not the best, but it's okay. And if you do flex it in competitive to jungle, then at least you can get winning matchup somewhere. And then that winning matchup will be able to help you in the jungle as well. So I feel like that's maybe what we will see happen to Morgana. Shen sounds interesting. He could actually fit a jungler, being able to come with ulti and his taunt with flash. Sounds like decent ganks. This is actually pretty big base damage buffs. But I think his other spells are not that great for jungling. So his clear speed doesn't sound that good still. So I'm not convinced about Shen jungle. But Morgana, probably worth a try. Teemo, well that's just for fun I guess, but let's see. Now it's 100% longer versus monsters. That's actually pretty good by the way. Wait, I played Teemo jungle, so I know his issues with clear, and these are both really good. Right, well, you can play Teemo jungle. Now there's the grace on large monster deaths. Well, this isn't just gonna be for jungle. This is gonna help him a lot in top lane too. And then he's gonna, like, if you try to contest him in his jungle, he's now gonna have some, like, slaves after him, helping him. Poggers. Yorick jungle is just one of those things that it doesn't really offer much for your team. So you just end up farming a lot, and then you just get less gold as a jungler than what you do in solo lane. So not too convinced, but for top lane this is also nice though. Because you do want to farm a lot on Yorick. So taking Krugs and then getting your little graves is nice. Sarah plant, well, no point playing Sarah jungle when you're brand. So for this one's most viable one to me sounds like Morgana. If you can make Shen jungle work, it could be good. Yorick, this is nice for him in top lane. Teemo sounds like fun. Brand was already fine in jungle. Sarah, I think it's just troll. Funnel mechanics. Now you lose gold as well as EXP, so at this point I would just say funneling instead. Only way you can funnel now is if you soft funnel, and then you're not really funneling. So you get the debuff when more than half of your farm is from minions. So soft funneling is basically you farm jungle like 80% of the time, and then you farm lane here and there. So if you do that, and what you can do, and I have a strat for this, is that if you have your support farm the range creeps and then you're only farming some melees and some cannons, you can actually trick the system to actually still let you funnel. So I'm not going to give the exact maths to this, but I do have a maths of it. Top lane, so this TP is for everyone, not just top lane. This is pretty nice. So basically it's around like level 6 or something, where the cooldown is the same as this. So TP is still great for mid lane. Don't bother asking about it, it's still great, and this is really nice. And I already played a game with this, and it actually allowed me to freeze because I got to the way faster after my TP, so it was pretty nice. Death stance, 80 attack damage down to 50, 30 armor, 30 MR. So that's of course nice. You're fine losing the AD to get this, because the reason why you're building death stance anyways is to stay alive for the most part. Stores 30% of all post 20% for ranged. Okay, so it's gonna be less viable on graves, I guess. Okay, whatever. But it does get built differently. Caulfield, AG's Vampiric. Yeah. Yeah, so it's gonna be more of a bruiser kind of item, I guess. And like less good on champs like Irelia, I guess. Nobody cares about the ARAMs, bug fixes. Alright, upcoming skins, pretty cool. Nobody really cares. So, biggest buff, Twisted Fate, go play him. Sounds really strong. Seraph is okay, playable in some matchups. Wukong, go test him out. See what you feel, I don't fucking know. It's a bit confusing, the Wukong changes. But he's not going to one-shot you as easy, and he's going to do more damage over time and have easier time dealing with tanks, and overall just offer more as a champion. Which is nice. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, then make sure you like it and subscribe. And even considering joining my Discord or subscribing to my Patreon. Goodbye, guys.